How you all doing? Okay. My name is Shalin. I work with Black Albinism in the communications department. And today I'm going to take you through the project we've been doing in 3 counties. That is Kajiado, Machakos, and Kitui. And we found interesting findings from these counties. So that is what I'll be doing. So the impact of climate change on persons with albinism as we found it in Kajiado, Kitui, and Machakos. So first things first, it's good to know what albinism is. Albinism is a genetic disorder in which people with the condition do not have the ability to produce melanin, which is the natural pigment that protects us from the harsh UV rays of the sun. So typically, you cannot miss persons with albinism because due to lack of melanin, you find them very light, as you can see in this picture. And for a lady with albinism normally, and even men actually, the hair is normally very light and very light skin as well. This is a gentleman from Machakos with albinism. We have also discussed what climate change is. I'm very happy that most of us can define what climate change is, how we are able to identify it, and so on and so forth. So in short, climate change occurs as a result of carbon emissions of components like chlorofluorocarbons and halogens, which lead to the depletion of the ozone layer. So due to human activities like industrialization, when we emit these harmful gases to the atmosphere, it depletes the ozone layer. And when the ozone layer is depleted, it means that we are very susceptible to the effects of the sun. So imagine if us melanated people are this susceptible to the effects of the sun, how about persons with albinism? First of all, the ozone layer is not there, and then they don't have melanin. So you can see how the effect of the sun can be very dangerous for persons with albinism. And as a result, they experience sunburns, and in severe cases, we have skin cancer for persons with albinism. So with this objective, we had numerous goals wanted to achieve in these 3 counties that we can sum up in 2 major things. The first one, to increase awareness and knowledge about climate change and its impact on persons with albinism. And then the second one, like we always do at Black Albinism, is advocacy around climate change and persons with albinism. With this project, we leveraged with existing collaborations like the Kenya Disability Movement, the Kenya Forest Service, Mount Kenya Trust, and healthcare workers directly in touch with communities of people with albinism. And here, when we talk about the healthcare workers, when we had conversations with persons with albinism in these 3 counties, there was this issue that when you go to hospital to pick sunscreen, I remember we had a conversation with a climate change champion from Kajiado, Zipintinini. She wasn't able to be here. And she was saying sometimes you go to these level 5 hospitals and the sunscreen is there, but imewekwa kwa store, and they're not giving to you. Or even worse, some of these healthcare workers, they actually use this sunscreen on themselves because apparently it smells nice and other weird reasons. So you wonder, the sunscreen is there, a person with albinism needs it, why are you keeping it for yourself, yeah? So with this project, we aimed also to create awareness among healthcare workers about albinism and the nitty-gritty of it. So our objectives, the first one was to assess knowledge of climate change among persons with albinism, to identify challenges related to climate change, and to propose solutions to these challenges, which I will expound further. So how did we come up with whatever we found? The study design we used was cross-sectional qualitative data collection. And with this, we aimed to gain insights and an in-depth understanding of the respondents' knowledge and perception on the impact of climate change. And then when it comes to sampling, we used purposive approach. Here we targeted persons with albinism, persons who have interacted with persons with albinism, and people who have knowledge on climate change in the various counties. So for Machakos County, like I've mentioned, the people we used, people with albinism and parents of children with albinism. For the respondents in Machakos County, we had 10 people. In Kitui and Kajiado, we had 9 people. So to the flesh of the project now, the first one, remember I said our first objective was to assess whether persons with albinism and those who interact with them know about climate change. And indeed, persons with albinism in these 3 counties are aware of climate change. For instance, if you talk to Mzee Tapari here, he's from Kajiado County, he will tell you that in Kajiado, in most instances, there's rainfall. But of late, kumekuwa na kiangazi kidogo. So the rainfall has decreased. And from that, you can actually know that, okay, this person knows that climate change is actually a thing. And then when we talked to the participants, this was in Kitui and also in Machakos, they will tell you that in Ukambani we normally have heat, yeah? But with climate change, it becomes 10 times worse, which means it's 10 times worse for persons with albinism. And so when we talk to these people, they might not know the theoretical meaning of climate change, but they can actually note that climate change is here with us. And then the second key finding was on challenges to livelihood. And we noticed that climate change negatively impacts livelihood. Like for example, in places where they practice farming, these farmers will tell you that due to the sun, they can only practice farming either early morning or late evenings. Because if they try and do farming in the afternoon, the sun will be very, very hard on them. So this also means that, of course, the productivity they have is not like for normal people, yeah? Because you're telling me there's someone who's farming from morning to evening, and then a person with albinism is only farming, let's say, in the morning or in the evening. This obviously affects their production, and especially in this very tough economy, you can't afford to miss working hours. So that is one of the effects of climate change on persons with albinism. So we also met this lady. She's called Pascalia from Machakos County, and she's a hawker in Nairobi. She hawks bananas. And her story was very heartbreaking because I had a one-on-one with her, and she was saying when she hawks in the streets of Nairobi, first of all, as you can see, she doesn't have glasses. And persons with albinism, most of them need glasses because of lack of melanin in their eyes, and they cannot see. That's number one. And also because of light. So Pascalia here, she doesn't have glasses. That's number one. And number two, she will tell you that with the hawking industry, it's there's days you win, there's days you lose. Yeah, there's days you'll have a lot of profit, there's days you'll really struggle. So she was telling me, let's say in a day you get 1,000 bob, okay? This 1,000 bob, you're supposed to pay rent. You're thinking of whether you can buy glasses. There's sunscreen. Sunscreen is about 2,300 to 2,500. So she's asking me, this 1,000 bob, itaifanyia nini? What will I buy? What will I live? Yeah? And then the worst part of it all, she was telling me, as she's hawking on the streets, anaezaitwa na mtu na akose kumuona. And that's how she loses a customer. So you see the effects of climate change are really severe and really dire on a person with albinism. This is a mother of 2 children, one with albinism and one without. So, And this one with albinism has multiple disabilities. She's from Kajiado County. Um, this was another heartbreaking story. She is a pastoralist, yeah, and she was saying that sometimes she has to cater for livestock, carrying these children, especially the one with albinism. And the effects of the sun on a kid, especially a kid with albinism, are very dire. And this kid, aside from albinism, he has other disabilities. So you can imagine what struggle she goes through carrying two kids, one who needs special care, and at the same time, she's catering for livestock. Yeah, that is very heartbreaking. And she was also saying in Kajiado County, she comes from a very interior place, and sunscreen, they're normally provided in level 5 hospitals. So she was saying she has to travel 3 hours to get sunscreen. So that's 3 hours to and 3 hours from. And sometimes even that fare is hard. So even as we look at providing sunscreen to persons with albinism, let's also look at accessibility. Yeah, let's have sunscreen available in even the most interior of places, because this story is just heartbreaking. So, with the challenges to livelihood, the implication we had is to provide protective wear and promoting mitigation measures that are crucial to sustaining their livelihoods. And protective wear, we have long-sleeved shirts, sunscreen, wide brim hats, and turtlenecks as well. So on to our third key finding, that is on health implications. This is not new to us. We know how the sun affects persons with albinism, and the first one is sunburn. And the more a person with albinism is exposed to sun, the more they are susceptible to cancer as well. So in our endeavors, when we went to these counties, we made sure that at least we give someone sunscreen, especially to those who it's very hard to get or very hard to afford, so that they can be able to use this sunscreen themselves and avoid things like sunburn and subsequently skin cancer. Our key finding number 4 was on social consequences, and the social stigmatization that persons with albinism go through, again, is not new to us. Just because they have lighter skin than us, just because they don't look like us, then we segregate them from us. And then when a person with albinism is affected with sunburn, there's a way that the skin looks. I remember we were having this conversation with Mama Sharon some time back when he had such a gathering at our place of work, and she was telling us that she once had a kid from Kitui County. The kid came from Kitui. This kid had a severe sunburn. Like, it looks very, very, very burnt. Now, what's more interesting is that the mom to this kid is not, let me say, not that aware of albinism. She's still in doubt. She hasn't accepted that the kid has albinism. So the main reason why this kid is looking like this is because the mom was putting this kid kwa jua every single day. You might want to know why. So that the skin changes, ikae kama yangu. Yeah? Such instances. And that is why we need to do awareness. Sometimes we assume that just because we know about albinism and we know how things work, other people know. Kuna watu mashinani, they know nothing about it. And that is why it is important we do awareness every single time. Kuna mtu mahali atasikia and they will learn. So about mitigation strategies, the first one was personalized interventions, and this I've talked about. We go to the grassroots level. Yeah, it's not enough that we have sunscreen in level 5 hospitals. It's not enough that we do conversations like this in these gatherings, yeah? There's a woman in Kitui, there's a woman in Kajiado, there's a woman in Machakos, Uko Interior. They know nothing about this. And that is why we need to work, yeah, for this to work. And then the second one is protection wear and sunscreen, which I cannot emphasize more. We need to ensure, the story I've given of the mom who has a kid with albinism and has to travel 3 hours to Kajiado town to get sunscreen. That is heartbreaking, if you ask me. Can we find ways where sunscreen is available at the grassroots level? That would be nice, yeah? Yeah. And then also agencies and local administration coordination. And this is also what I'm talking about in terms of can hospitals work with level 5 hospitals, for example, work in small clinics to ensure that if a level 5 hospital in Kajiado town, for example, has the massive supply for sunscreen, can we know what number of persons with albinism are in a certain town, na hizo sunscreens zipelekwe huko, yeah? This way, we don't have to struggle getting sunscreen, getting other protective wear. This way, everyone is reached. So, from the presentation, yes, climate change affects all of us, yeah? But persons with albinism, persons with disabilities, they feel it, let me say, harder, yeah? For the obvious reason, yeah. The fact that the ozone layer is being depleted, that means we don't have that protection. And persons with albinism don't have melanin. So like it's double tragedy, yeah? So let us work towards creating awareness about albinism at the grassroots level. Let us try and dispel more information about albinism, because again, I think my main message would be, do not assume that everyone knows, yeah? Kuna watu ambao hawajui kabisa. And all of this we've talked about in the process of my presentation. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm inviting questions from you guys, or comments. Any question? Okay. Now I invite Jerita for our panel discussion on matters climate change and albinism. Jerita, welcome. Round of applause for Jerita. Round of applause for Jerita. Okay, so we're going to have a panel discussion with Jerita. So first things first, Jerita, tell us who you are and what you do.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jerita from Machakos County. At the same time, I'm a climate change champion and a person with albinism. I'm also a business lady and a politician.
So Jerita, you've been doing climate change championship for quite some time right now. What inspired you to be a champion for climate change, especially around persons with albinism?
To me, I can say it's through personal experience. I had a brother who has albinism and who got skin cancer. So I got interested to learn more about albinism, and also for my own personal taking care of myself due to the harsh weather conditions, and also due to the fact that in Machakos County there was a gap. There was not that much advocacy as far as climate change is concerned on people with albinism, and given the fact that we are most affected by the weather changes, I saw it as my inspiration, as my passion, and also a way of giving back to the society, and also ensuring we have zero skin cancer cases in Machakos and Kenya at large. If we do this issue of climate change and we advocate for people with albinism to take protective measures, it goes a long way to ensure we have zero skin cancer cases. As much as we know, people with albinism are affected by the effects of the sun very much.
Jerita, in the process of doing these climate change activities, what challenges do you personally face when you're doing these activities?
First of all, is lack of resources, because as we all know, people with albinism, they might be in different places. So first, the main challenge is lack of resources as far as mobility is concerned, because you might find a person with albinism is in a certain area, the other person you get is in a distance of maybe around 20-30 kilometers, and you have to go there and talk to them personally. There is also the lack of enough sunscreen lotions. If you're talking about climate change, you are doing awareness on climate change, yet you are going to talk to people with albinism and you are not even giving them the solution. You are telling them to use sunscreen, yet you are not carrying the sunscreen to them to ensure they also apply it. So it becomes a challenge, because even telling them to go and buy is a bit expensive. For a bottle of sunscreen, it goes for about 2,300, hence making it a bit expensive for people with albinism to be able to afford themselves alone. There is also the challenge of cultural beliefs. We still have some backwardness in some communities, where you try to explain to a person, to a parent, or to the society at large, a person with albinism is just a person like any other one. But to them, they are seeing this kid is like a result of a curse. They also see is like she doesn't belong to the society. So you find, as much as we're doing the awareness, there are parents who are still hiding these kids. In fact, you find that a parent, when goes to the market, you find amefunika huyo mtoto kabisa, hataki mtoto aonekane. So unless you are told the kid is there is a lot of awareness which is also actually needed. And there is also a challenge of the number of people with albinism. We don't have the actual data where we can do a lot of follow-up, because some people with albinism, they are yet to accept them as a person with disability, and some are forgotten when they take the data of people with disabilities. So we need to do a clear data to get the number of people with albinism in the country and in all places, so that we can know if it is budgeting, how it's supposed to be budgeted for.
Jerita, in Machakos County, what challenges would you say persons with albinism go through that are unique to persons with albinism in Machakos County that other persons with albinism, let's say in Mombasa or Kisumu, may not be experiencing?
In Machakos, we can see it's a semi-arid area, so the sun might be double as far as the weather changes are concerned. So a lot of extra care, a lot of extra protection is needed, so that we can be at par with other people with albinism in the country. And there's also the influx of these factories going towards Machakos County. And there's a lot of emissions to the rivers due to the waste, which are were disposed at the rivers, hence causing a lot of cancer. Another unique challenge is the topography of the place. There are places where it's a challenge to actually reach there, because Machakos County, especially the remote areas, you find the families are we are not densely populated in the remote areas. Hence the challenge of going from one place to another, trying to identify people with albinism in Machakos County. So the main difference is lack of the areas. There are some places are also hilly, so it becomes a challenge trying to go and reach those people.
In what areas would you say the county government of Machakos is failing at addressing albinism and taking albinism with the seriousness it deserves?
The main challenge in Machakos County is budgeting. We don't have a clear budget for people with albinism because as they are budgeting to buy assistive devices, I've never seen any time there's a budget for people with albinism as far as buying sunscreen lotions, buying protective clothing, because as a person with albinism, this is a category of disability. So if you are budgeting to buy wheelchairs, why don't you also budget to buy sunscreen as protective measure for a person with albinism who does not need a wheelchair, who does not maybe need a hearing aid? The only way you can support such a person and have impact is to buy that sunscreen as a form of medication. To us, there are people who take sunscreen as a form of beauty. But to people with albinism, it's not about cosmetic, about smoothing your skin. It's about protection.
Okay, clearly there's a lot that the county government of Machakos needs to do. But would you say there's a problem from the national government trickling down to the county government, or the problem solely lies on the county government?
With the national government, I can say they are a bit trying because there is also that provision of sunscreen from National Council, but a lot needs to be done because people with albinism need the sunscreen throughout the year. But you find in some cases there is a problem with KEMSA where the procurement is done. So it takes a lot of time before the sunscreen reaches to certain areas. And by the time it's reaching there, it's almost getting expired. And also the procurement process is tedious. There's no enough provision of the sunscreen because like if you go to an area like Masinga, which is very hot, like in Machakos County, you might find they only have around 20 bottles of sunscreen lotion. So, but the people who have albinism are more than the number of the sunscreen which is being provided. Hence, you find maybe you go for one round, then the next round when you are going there is no sunscreen. So it's a major challenge. And as far as protective clothing, we are talking about people with albinism putting on long-sleeved T-shirts, shirts, protective clothing in general, and large beams shirts, T-shirt, hats. But now the major problem happens whereby the National Council is only supplying once, but I can't even remember the last time we got protective clothing from National Council. So there is a big gap as far as the protective clothing is concerned. If we have kids in schools and we are telling the parent to buy school uniform, you are still telling the same parent to go and buy the extra protective clothing. Else these kids might be in school. They don't have protective clothing like kofia. They are not putting long-sleeved shirts. The uniform, you have to go an extra mile. It is either you buy a trouser for a girl, then she puts it on under the dress, or you buy a long-sleeved T-shirt for the girl to put under the blouse so that they can also be protected. So it is an extra cost for the parents with kids with albinism as far as school kids going to school is concerned. There is also a challenge whereby as much as we are telling the schools to take care of these kids in school for people with albinism, if we don't have the solution by giving the sunscreen to schools to be giving these kids, you find a kid going to school and has only one bottle of sunscreen, which is supposed to last her for a whole term. then we have a bigger challenge. As far as the county is concerned, my push will always be let's supplement what the national government is doing. We have a budget for people with disabilities. Even at county level, there's that budget. Let's also budget for people with albinism if we are talking of total inclusion.
Lest it be said that we are focusing more on the negative side, Jerita, in what areas would you say that the county government is actually doing well in terms of addressing albinism?
For Machakos County, I can say we are doing great as far as people with albinism are concerned. We are seeing a lot of positivity because, like now, we have a Machakos Disability Board, which it comprises of different people, types of disabilities. And we have a person with albinism in that board. That is me, and I'm the vice chairperson in that board. So when we get the budget, me being in the board is a plus for me to push for the idea of people with albinism to also get a budget so long as they are budgeting for other types of disabilities. We should also have people with albinism in the budget. Another positive thing I'm also seeing, we have now people with albinism in employment as far as the county is concerned, which is also a plus so that we can have well-empowered people with albinism who can also be able to take care of themselves and also who can help in matters of advocacy. In Machakos County, we have a department where they also intend to do intensive training by creating awareness and sensitizing the community about people that kid stays in school without being chased away due to lack of school fees.
Jerita, in your introduction, you mentioned that you're a politician, and I'm so sure many people here want to know how your journey as a politician has been.
My journey as a politician began in last year's general election, where I vied for an MCA seat in a place called Mumbone North in Machakos County. For a person with albinism and a person with disability, we can't say it's easy. We have double challenges because for me to do my campaigns, it's either I wake up very early in the morning, go talking to people before the sun becomes so hot, or I wait at around 5 when the sun at least is not that hot so that I can also be able to go out and meet people and talk to them. So by the time you're trying to reach these people, you find you have a disadvantage. You are disadvantaged in one way or another. Your competitor is doing the campaign throughout the day. You are also taking care of your skin. You are taking care of yourself. So you find the level of competition becomes a challenge. But with all said and done, God is also great because I managed to be number 2 out of 10 despite my disability. And which shows, as community, people are starting to embrace people with disability in political positions, and making us encourage more people with albinism and people with disabilities at large to get involved in elective positions, not only to wait for nominations. Because at first we used to hear everybody's asking, why are you going for the elective seat? Why don't you also wait for the nomination, whereby you are going to get a free seat which you have not worked for? As much as I'm doing politics, I'm also doing awareness. Because that person seeing me out there, they are knowing I'm there. When you are doing branding, everywhere they are seeing the posters, they are seeing a person with albinism. And they are seeing we are actually there. And it's a plus for us as people with disabilities.
As you wind up, Jerita, what advice would you give to young persons with albinism?
For my advice to young people with albinism, what I can say is first, let's take care of ourselves. As much as we want to be beautiful and slay outside there, let's remember our main enemy and our main challenge is skin cancer. We can slay, but in a protective way. You can do that hair of yours, then put on a kofia on top, but when you are indoors, you can you can you don't need to use the large beamed art, but let's take care of ourselves. And also, as young people with albinism, let's also be seen in all these places. Let's show up. Let's be involved. If you go to school, get involved in all the activities which are being done in school, so that our voices can also be heard. Because if we call ourselves and we term ourselves as persons with disabilities, we need to voice our voices ourselves, as much as there are other stakeholders who are helping us to voice our voices. Let's be out there. Let's show up. Let's get involved in activities. Like in those activities, you will not be challenged by the sun. So if you are able to play some indoor games, just go out there and do them. If it's workspace, let's also see ourselves in these different workspaces. Let's also work hard in school so that we can also get the qualifications, because outside here, they don't care whether you are a person with disability or not. What they are asking are for your papers. So as far as the country is concerned, I'm seeing a lot of positivity about young people with albinism. Because like the timetable for examination, I saw they have that space for lunch print. When we are doing exams, we are not limited, not like that time ourselves we are doing those examinations. It was in small letters. But now the National Examination Council is being inclusive, because we have papers which are printed in large print. So let's also work hard, and let's also be seen everywhere so that our voice can be heard.
Okay, thank you so much, Jerita. A round of applause for Jerita as she takes her seat. At this juncture, I invite Lois Lihanda for the next panel discussion. Lois. For this panel discussion, we'll be having Brenda Nabututu. Welcome to the forum. And Ayu. Karibu.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. And Mashorani can also come to this panel discussion. All right, are we okay? You guys are so silent. Are we getting in something? Are you loving the discussions? Are we? Mbona sisikii sauti jamani? Are we loving the discussions? All right, as you heard, my name is Lois Lihanda from Dr. Choksi Albinism Foundation. And I'm so glad to be here. And I really love the discussion because whatever we are discussing about is affecting all of us. Amen? Did I say amen? Oh my God, don't worry, I'm a minister. Yeah, you'll have to pardon me. I'm a minister as well. I really love the Lord. And yes, that is part of what I'm doing. All right. So on this panel discussion, we're going to do, it's going to deal of how climate change and how we can take care of ourselves. I know we have discussed so much of the effects of the climate change, but now what do we do? Are you okay? What do we do? I almost said hallelujah. What do we do, yeah, to curb these effects? Okay? So I have a couple of questions that I will ask my panelists. I'll want them to introduce themselves again. I know they have introduced themselves, but just get to hear their and then we'll pick it up from there. Okay? All right.
Okay. Okay, good morning. My name is Ayub.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Nabututu. I'm a member of Black Albinism.
Good morning. My name is Ruth Njeri, a member of Black Albinism.
Sharon could have introduced herself, but she can do that in sign language. Everybody can see her. All right, as I said earlier, we're going to discuss on how climate change, adaptation and resilience strategies for persons with albinism. Resilience strategies and adaptation. I, being a person with albinism and also having been affected by climate change, I think it's very important that we also discuss on how as much as there is climate change, how do we cap these effects on us? And then we're going to talk about our personal challenges and experiences, rather, of climate change, and how we can help ourselves to deal with this issue of climate change. My personal, let me begin by my personal view on climate change. And as my other colleagues have talked about the UV and the ozone layer, we know that we persons with albinism, let me speak for persons with albinism because I am affected by this, yeah? We know our greatest challenge is with the sun. And maybe let me talk about deforestation. We all know what that is, yeah? And we know global warming is a very great case that affects us, because it's with global warming, then the UV rays, and us being exposed, yeah? So I believe that even with planting of trees, somebody said that the nature will respond to how we treat it. That was a very great, how do I say, note, yeah? So for me, even deforestation is a really great factor. And we know with albinism, I know people can bear witness with this, that whenever we go to a place where it's so hot, the first thing we look for is a place to take shade, right? Sindio? Jua ni kali, my friend. So what you look for is an immediate place where you can take a shade, yeah? And therefore I believe if we also just do, I believe small steps leads to great impacts. Are we together? Even planting of trees can be a great start off, yeah? So for me, my personal experience is, actually I'm supposed to be traveling to Mombasa in the evening, and I've been there for a couple of times, and we all know how that place is so hot. Sindio? Yeah? I know people have talked about having protective clothing is usually among the number one things we look at, and also having sunscreen. But on that note, I'd like to emphasize not just sunscreen, are we together? But good quality sunscreen, sindio? Tunajua kuna sunscreen zingine when we use, they are not really impactful, sindio? There's another one I used kitambo in primary school, I think. But then you'll see, you'll apply this sunscreen, but then it won't help as much. You'll find that in the evening, you still have sunburn. And we people with albinism cannot how do I say, how uncomfortable it is to have sun. So, wazungus, we know, right? You know how you feel hot, your skin peels at some time. You know, you cannot, especially if you have those severe ones, even when wearing clothes, it's a bit uncomfortable. Unasikia ka pinch, ka itchiness, right? So that is my personal experience. And as much as we're going to talk about our own personal measures that we can take to be resilient and also help ourselves in this climate change, okay? So I'm going to start with Brenda is going to give us her own personal experience, or rather what she does to curb this effect of the climate change. So Sawa, can you please give me a hand clap of thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Nimeambiwa nisimame. Ndio mnione na vile mimi ni mrefu. And very huge. Okay. Once again, my name is Brenda Nabututu, and Lois has asked me to share my experience, what I do to take care of my skin. Kitu cha kwanza ningependa kuambia, as a human being, dawa. I always say, it's like a song to me, ni self-acceptance. Self-acceptance, kujikubali, knowing who you are as a person. Yeah, naweza kuwa mimi ni mfupi sana, lakini who am I? Do I love myself? Have I accepted myself? Najitambua, yeah? Kwa sababu we are all different. Kuna warefu, kuna wanene, kuna weusi. Ukiwa mweusi sana pia, people will have something to say. Wasema, na ule ni mweusi, si ndio? Yeah, mpaka labda unaweza kuacha footprints kwa makaa, si ndio? Lakini ukiwa mweupe sana, people will. And I feel persons with albinism, we should be very proud kwa sababu kuna watu wanafanya skin lightening, si ndio? Lakini si Mungu ashatu bleach, si ndio? Okay. I'll go to now my routine, what I do. Nimewambia kitu cha kwanza ni kujikubali as a person, knowing your self-worth, knowing who you are. Mimi pangu ningependa kusema ku echo on what Lois had said before, knowing the right sunscreen to use, kwa sababu kuna zile ambazo ziko low, quality yao ni low. Ndio maana unakuta wakati mwingine ukijipaka unachomeka, unajiuliza nilijipaka sunscreen lakini skin yangu imechomeka. Alafu hizi sunscreen pia zina vary na skin zetu. Kuna wale ambao wako na oily skin, kuna wale ambao wako na dry, vitu kama hivyo. So they go with our skin, different types of skin. Okay. Sunscreen zina vary na your type of skin. Kuna wale ambao wanatumia Nivea, kuna wale ambao wasikizani na Nivea, kuna Dr. Rachel, kuna Neutrogena, kuna mingi, si ndio? Kuna mingi sana siku hizi. Everyone is trying to come up, kwa sababu hata siku hizi wale watu ambao wako na melanin wanakuwa advised kutumia sunscreen as a skin routine. So mimi kabla kuwe kuna jua, kuwe hakuna jua, mimi ujipaka sunscreen, kwa sababu aside from the sun kuna zile rays ambazo pia yani hata joto tu, maybe pale nyumbani, pale ushago ukienda pale, sisemi ati sunscreen itakuprotect kwa kutokana na moto ama jua, lakini we should be very careful when it comes to our skin, kwa sababu kuwa na ngozi mzuri ni hard work, ni kama investment, but dawa ni kujiaccept as a person, kujua wewe ni nani. Kwa hivyo mimi ni kuwe kuna jua, kuwe hakuna jua, mimi nita apply nini? Sunscreen. Alafu every time nikienda labda kulala, sometimes I apply after sun, after nishaoga. Unajua si watu ambao tuko na ulemavu wa ngozi, watu wako na albinism, huwa tunakuwa jua sana sana ikituchoma ina attack pale kwenye shingo, si ndio? Shingo unakuta huku. Alafu knowing how to apply sunscreen. Hiyo sunscreen unai-apply aje? Unaipaka tu kama lip balm, ama una make sure ukipaka hii sunscreen imeingia ndani ya, you take your time, especially when you know that you're going out. Hata afadhali uamke mapema, ndio wakati unapaka hiyo sunscreen inaingia ndani, ina absorb. And sometimes ukiona kama hiyo sunscreen maybe ina harufu mbaya, si lazima uanze kusema hii sunscreen iko na harufu mbaya siwezi kutumia. You can mix it with a type of lotion, ama mnaweza kutumia perfumes. Me, that's what I do. Nikijua hii sunscreen hainuki vile nataka, na i-mix na lotion nyingine. Na nikijua hii sunscreen imebaki kidogo, naichukua bado na mix na lotion nyingine ili iweze usiseme ati hii sunscreen haitoshi, kwa hivyo uanze kusema sasa hii leo nitapaka tu hapa kwa uso, huku kwa shingo sitapaka. Kwa hivyo mimi ni simple, very simple. Sijui, yani mimi ni very simple. Kama mtu ana swali labda ungependa kuniuliza how I take care of myself. Na sina experience mbaya. Experience yangu mbaya ilikuwa tu wakati nilikuwa mtoto. When I didn't understand who I am, what albinism is. Lakini siku hizi naringa kama kitu kingine. Yani, hata ukikuja kunikatia kuwa jua tu wewe ndio utalan kuni accommodate, si ati mimi. No, it is you, and you must be able to afford my sunscreen. Yeah. Sawa. Mko na swali? Kuna mtu ana swali? Yeah, you can. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. I have mentioned that, only that I didn't talk about the time. Lakini nimesema you take your time while applying sunscreen so that it absorb ndani. Yeah? And then nikasema wakati mwingine itabidi uamke mapema. Sawa? Kama mi watu wengine wanajua kama late kama, lakini when it comes to preparing myself, I take time. Hata mwenye niko naye anasema wewe, ananiamsha 1 hour before kama tunaenda mahali, kwa sababu anajua huyu, na anajua pia sioni vizuri. So when I'm doing my makeup, I take my time. And you can always use foundations too, and there's some type of foundations zenye zikona, especially for women. For men, unajua hamtumii foundation sana, si ndio? Lakini kuna zile kuna wale wanatumia by the way. Kuna wale wanatumia. Kuna wanaume wanaenda pedicure, manicure, si ndio? Yeah, self care. Yeah, so kuna zile foundation ambazo pia ziko na sunscreen ndani. And kumbuka, kama mtu ako na albinism, you have to always go for the sunscreen that has a higher SPF. Hata saa zingine kama itabidi umix ya 40 na ya 70, do it. Na mimi utaniona na kofia, lakini kila wakati utakuwa ukiniona na hairstyle imeficha wapi? Uso. Hiyo ndio siri yangu, sawa? Mtajiuliza mbona huyu Brenda huwa achomeki huku. So hiyo ndio siri yangu. Most of the time my hairstyles zinakuja wapi? Mbele. Sawa? Kuna wale ambao hawapendi, lakini mimi hiyo ndio siri yangu. Utaniona na kofia, lakini utaniona na scarf pale, nisha protect shingo yangu. Utaniona na alafu na good quality sunscreen. Anyone else? Yes. Mhm. 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 No, harufu, yani ile harufu yake. Unajua kuna zile sunscreen ambazo ziko na nini fulani mpaka ukipita unajua tu huyu ni mtu ako na albinism amepita. Si ni ukweli? Ujasikia watu wakisema watu wako na albinism wananukianga hivi. You've never heard of such? So that's the secret. So you can as well apply your sunscreen, na pia unapiga kama unaka perfume pale, so that you smell unique. Si kunuka sunscreen kila wakati. Sawa? Si ndio? Wanasema ule boy ni handsome, lakini ananukanga tu kama wale wazungu wenzake. Si ndio? Au acha waseme that guy smells good. Anukangi kama wale wengine, si ndio? I'm saying from experience, because I've been told by people, you smell good. Haunuki kama wale? Yeah, so I'm sharing what I do with you. It is a very simple routine. Kuliko nikwambie tumia hii, and it is very simple, something that you can always do. Sawa? Si kuna lotions za wanaume zingine. Unaweka pale tu kadogo. Alafu una mix depending on your skin. Usifanye kitu ikulete madhara alafu useme Brenda alisema. Sawa? Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Mm. 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 Mhm. Yeah. Mm. 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 Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. 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 Yeah. Mm. 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 Yeah. Mm. 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 Okay. Very nice, very interesting. Pigeni makofi. Just to, as I wind up, just to finish on, just to add on what he said, when it comes to relationships, hey, women with albinism, I don't know about men because I'm not a man, but wacha niongea kama watu wa mtaani, but you girls, you are very beautiful, by the way, very. As for me, hey, hata sijui, mimi niko na kiburi sana. And nitasema credit yote inaenda kwa Mungu kitu cha kwanza, and then my parents, kwa sababu my mom has really tried to see me mpaka hapa kwenye niko, just taking care of me and all that. Lakini mtu asikuonyeshe ati wewe ni less. Ni mtu akikuja kwa maisha yako, yeye ndio anafaa kulearn kujiaccommodate kwa maisha yako, ajue needs zako, na kama hawezi wachana na yeye. It's not a favor, please. You're hatu bargain, your heart is not a bargaining whatever, sindio? We are all human beings, we all have our blood is red in color, sindio? We all have feelings. Ama nani hapa kona albinism hananga feelings? Mimi kwanza zangu kicheza nazo yani yeah. So I've had my worst and I have had my best, lakini mi tunaweza waambia tafuta ule mtu amekunoki kabisa kuliko vile wewe umemnoki. Sasa nitamalizia hapo.
Wow. That was wonderful. Brenda needs another hand clap of round of thank you so much, Brenda. Thank you so much, Brenda. Those are very amazing points that we need to note. Sindio? Yeah, we are not less. Yeah, and for that note, by the way, I'm engaged. I have a ring. And as Brenda is saying, yeah, it's reality. Yeah, they need to put a ring on it because, as she said, we are not less, yeah? And for me, my fiancé is the one who actually reminds me, baby, you need to take your coffee, you need to put on your sunscreen, yeah? Yeah, I'm getting married. So it's possible. We are beautiful, right? I see Angela smiling. Uko na mtu ama nikutafutie sahi, unajua? All right. I love what Brenda has told us. I believe we have gotten some points on that. I want now to hear from the male's perspective. Brenda has spoken about women foundation and all that. But how do our men with women... All right, Ayub is going to introduce himself and tell us how he's been able to deal with climate change. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Good morning once more. Ama bado sio morning. Okay, let's say my name. I'm Ayu the Don, and I heart member of BA, that is Black Albinism, and currently I do with ISON company experience. Okay.
So Ayub happened to go through the NYS, and from just my imagination, I know that training is usually very. I know they climb mountains, they go to the forest. I can imagine. So Ayub, tell us, how are you able to deal with that?
By the way, when you just look at a point of me, nakaa nilikuwa NYS kweli. Okay. By the way, it's a nice place and it was nice experience. I went there since back 2019. I did my course there, ICT. So climate change there, okay, it was tough. So unajua like the normal guys. Okay, si ati tuko abnormal, sawa? Yeah. So you can imagine you march nini, and then there is the PT. That is the physical training, where you've heard that we go to the forest, maneuver there and there. So we had to do this, like this cape. I had to prepare myself one. Ile tulikuwa napewa na National Council. It has something like a scarf hapa nyuma. So unajipin na hiyo. Then before you get to the ground, you had to unajipaka cream vizuri, like you could, let's say kuoga nayo, you'd take a shower with it, ndo ukue assured hata jua ikuje aje, hata like jua ikuje hata kama imetumwa, you are like uko safe. Then you had to put they don't normally, okay, when you're training you normally wear the shirt, but we would wear the like inaitagwa stretcher. So you would wear the stretcher and then you would wear then we would wear the shirt. If you're next to Wambua or Peter, you can, if it's true. So the chemistry, so it was like you had to know yourself first, your condition. You have albinism, then what is required of you. Because there in the training, commander kiwambia getting hurry up to the task. Like you have to changamka. You don't have to just to lag at the end because you have albinism. No, you had to hizo vitu like niwe ujipange, you wear up, you nini jipange mapema, then you do as they do. Because okay, first what's made me to go there, I had a motive that people say like we can't train, I don't know, we can't do what in a harsh condition. So we had to prove them wrong. And I remember we were 3 of us, and we managed to accomplish the mission. And you could imagine the other guys, some will like get it very tough until they would do like, okay, escaping, we normally call it kukata wire. So like you can imagine the normal guy wenye wako nini, imagine yo like wanasema ati jua ni kali sana, they cannot and like waezi vumilia. Because I could imagine there was by the time there was time baridi, you can imagine the climate ya Gilgil, like it was too cold, mpaka saa zingine lips zina like they just bambuka themselves. So you don't have to mind, you get just buy a Vaseline, unasema hii ni kama ni normal, ni vile ni training. So you can imagine like it's ile soft skin inatoka, so unawea hard, ndio go hard on life. You can get the chemistry, ndio the soft skin goes and then you get hard so that you can able to be hard to cope up with the life. I don't know if you're getting the line. Ni kama nimerhyme hapo. So yeah, basically it was that like venye tu meambiwa ilikuwa ni kujipaka cream, then unavaa fiti, and then you get to the ground kama watu wengine. Then I could recall tukiwa within 2 bado huko. So there was a time we would be chosen to go to play football. Like I'm a very fan of football, so I could not miss out. I was representing my barrack. We used to sleep in things called barrack. So I was the striker there. I could not at like I can like at Isaniko, it's very harsh. I cannot get to the ground and I just playing football. But what I did, it was when the sun is it's too hot, like I would just chill. You would kuna ile kupigwa sub, si mnaelewa? So I would do that. But when the climate is just cool, you just get in the ground, unacheza mpira vizuri kama watu wengine. And you can imagine, uwezi toka kwa game ati juu imekuwa kali. No. You have to like ucheze mpaka minutes ziishe. So you know the rules of football. Like uwezi nini, so I had to kwa mind, I had to do like this. Najua natacheza football, and what I was required to do kupaka cream whatever nini, then I get to the track. That's why that's how I survived. So unapata wakicheza mpira, time ina move, so I don't have to be stressed at hii training itaisha lini. No, you can imagine kucope up na activities wakiwa na za kukimbia, I'm there cheering, so you see things moving. You don't see life it's hard. When training ikuwa harsh, you don't at lag behind at unasema you're not going to cope up. No, I had to like kuna ile extra effort unaput. Unajua kuna time sana inakuwa kali and then there is nowhere to hide, so you will just kujikokota until where the shade is, so that you can also you can call yourself winner, because you cannot go through the training and expect to be easy. So you get it. Yeah, it's normally like that.
Wow. Thank you so much. Please clap for Ayub. I believe our young men have been able to pick one or two things, yeah? I love the confidence, because I can just think, will we hold back our talents because of our skin condition? No, he says he did the football. I don't know if you guys heard, but he said there are times he had to take a shower with a sunscreen. That means kuoga na sunscreen. Juka amesikia hiyo kweli? Amesema unaoga na sunscreen. Yeah, so that is really wonderful, Ayub. And look at him today. He doesn't look like he's from the... my goodness. All right. Thank you so much. So what can you tell young men with albinism in matters of climate change and how they're able to cope?
Just simple. As Brenda told us, magalde venye ufanya, pia sisi we normally have to like tuibe vitu hapo hivyo. Like lazima upige luku, si unaona luku imeweza? So ndio pia udraw wale magaldem, like you have pia to look enticing, ndio at least usikuwe na ile ati watakuhurumia ati nini. No, you have to go ahead tafute, yeah, you chase that mula ama namna gani. So the thing tu ni ku work hard kama wanaume wengine. By the way, sijawaambia hata story, there was a time in town, like ndio nimemaliza NYS, so I was what next, so you don't get a job mara moja, so I had to get my best ito kama so alinipeleka Kikomba, then kunichangamsha teketeke, like he had to get me some t-shirt here and there nizungushe. So it was for me, mara kwanza it was kind of hectic, because you can imagine umezungusha kwa jua na hakuna mtu amebai and you have to pay rent, na sasa hiyo bado hujakula kitu, and you cannot inama ati uiname sapa, you cannot inama lunch and inama sapa, simnaelewa kuinama. So you had to, if you inama one meal, you make sure the other one lazima uipate. So by the way, I had to do it, nilizungusha. So most of the time ningetia, like I would put more effort in evening hours. Ndo unaelewa, ndio rush hour, watu wanatoka job nini, then you grasp more 1 2 3. So to young men with albinism, it's just simple. Pia wewe just take a shower, usiseme ati kuna bari, just take a shower, because ukijipaka sunscreen kama uko na nini, like uchafu haita like ikuwa na ile effect strong. From experience, how? So on a light note, lakini mimi ni msafi, so so you just pia you nini kamarashi hapa na pale ndio unuke fiti. By the way, I have a cologne, na pia kwa kukiangalia kwa mkokangu siwezi kosa ka spray kidogo, like you carry kale kakuwa ndio unukia fiti, wise kakuwa kunywa, si ndio? Sio mbaya, si ndio? So you just do like hizo tunazitaga normal things, hizo like kupaka kini, like hizo ni normal things. So you like ni fingertips zako, like you don't have to be told that you have to do no, hizo ni ukiamka asubuhi, hizo ni kama takeaways. So you take a shower, paka cream, kanini kako kakoloni kidogo nukie poa, then piga haso kawa wanaume wengine. You know just that simple.
Wow, huyu jamaa anafaa clap ingine. Okay, let me give Brenda to say something.
Huyu boy by the way ako tu sawa. And then to talk about Kama, I know Kama very well, na Kama siku hizi anafanya hustle yake usiku, so watu wako na albinism hatuna excuse ati kuna jua. Kama yeye uza matisho zake usiku, yeye ni usiku sako by the way. So we hatuna excuse tupige hustle. Hata mimi by the way nimefanya kazi, nimekuwa na kibanda na nimepeleka chakula. There's some people that want their food delivered kwa nyumba, na wewe unataka pesa. What do? Utaambia mi kuna jua na wewe unataka pesa? Si ni wewe ujue vile utamanuva. So just to echo on what he has said, tukwe watu aggressive, tujitume, tusikwe na excuses ati sikufanya hii juu ya ngozi yangu sijui nini. Only that pia tuangalie tuangalie ile kitu iko friendly na skin yetu. Tusiassume mtu ati kwa sababu tumeapply sunscreen sasa sisi tuko na melanin. No. Because that is what most of us do. You want to go and bask in the sun just because you've applied sunscreen, and then you start blaming God and yeah, and having low self-esteem just because you don't know how to take care of yourself. But dawa vile nitarudia tena na kusema ni kujikubali na kujua wewe ni nani. You know, once ushajikubali, ushajua mi ni msupu, I am handsome, inakuja inje, si ni ukweli? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I'm really loving these discussions. All right, I'm not going to add anything on that. I'm just going to Mama Sharon. Mama Sharon is a parent of children with albinism. She'll tell us from a parental perspective. I know we have had, if you are very keen, Charlene earlier said of a scenario where a parent was putting their child inje kwa jua ndo aweze kupata melanin. For me, that is ignorance. And I believe also parents need to have information on how to take care of children with albinism. So let's hear from Mama Sharon's perspective and tell us how her life has been with children with albinism. Tuambie mom.
Habari zenyu tena. Like you have heard, my name is Ruth Njeri. I'm a mother of 3, 2 with albinism and 1 without. And I'm a proud mother. Maybe talking from my experience, from yani sikuanga in my lifetime sikuwahi kuwa interested sana na mambo na disability, any disability. But since nilipata mtoi yako na disability albinism, nikaanza kuwa interested. So kuna mahali tu God anakukamatianga tu, ndio unaona uko nje unaweza pata watu wanatembea. By the way, it's very good to create an awareness, kwa sababu kuna watu tu wako, they don't mind about people with albinism or any disability, but once wakipata sasa ndio wanaanza kuwa very interested. So ni vizuri at least kama ningekuanga hata mimi na awareness kitambo, maybe hata watu wangu labda ningewalea differently. But na thank God kila kitu inakuanga na reason yake, si ndio? So mimi wakati nilipata my firstborn sahi yako 21 na ndio huyo anafanya sign language hapo. It was shocking because it was not in my mind kwamba naweza pata mtu yako na albinism, because in our family mimi sijaiona, in a family of my husband sikuwaiona, so it came like a shock. So when wakati nilipata mtoi my firstborn, nilimpata hapa Pumwani, and it was really a shock kwa sababu wakati nilimpata, in fact madaktari kwanza walimficha for like 30 minutes. Mimi sikuona mtoto, but wenye tu nilipata walimficha. So nikakaa nauliza, kwani where is my baby? Then niko na madaktari karibu 5 wamekuja. Wananiambia, "Mom, you need to be cancelled." Nauliza, kwani nimefanya nini? And yani wanaogopa kuniambia. So nikamwambia, kama kuna chochote, anything bad, just tell me. Ndio wakaniambia, "You know, umepata mtoto ako hivi na hivi. And mtoto itabidi uanze kumlea hivi." So wakaanza kuniambia, nikamwambia, "Simlete kwanza mtoto, I have to see the baby first." So wakati nilimuona, by the way, hata mimi I was in shock. Nikashindwa haya. Nikiangalia watoto wengine naona wengine ni weusi, ni wangu tu. Like Pumwani mzima, I was the only one with a baby with albinism. So kwanza kitu ya kwanza wakanipea mtoi, but wakani-cancel kidogo, akaniambia mtoi anataka tu mafuta sijui nini, but hizo hazikuwa zina ring kwa akili yangu. Mimi Kenya nilifanya, nilikuwa naficha mtoto. By the way, hata nikitaka kumnyonyesha ilikuwa inabidi nikafunike kabisa, yani hata jirani asione. Yani hospitali mzima wengine wako, yani wengine walikuwa proud na watoto wao, azin anashika katoto anakafunguanisha anakapanguza, but mimi nilikuwa nafanya chini ya maji, nimefunika mtoto but nakapanguzia huku. So my worries ilikuwa ni what about the husband, akikuja aone mtoto itakuwaje. But wakati alikuja ni kampatia mtoto, akacheki, hakusema kitu, akanyamaza tu. Nikasema thank God. So my family walikuwa wazuri tu, wakaniambia usijali, huu ni mtoi kama ule mwingine, tutakusaidia kulea. So sikuwa na shida na hiyo. But sasa shida inakujia kwa community. Once umetoka hospitali umekuja sasa nyumbani, yule mtoto yani unakuwa uko very shy hata kumtoa nje. By the way, wacheni niwaambie, mimi mtoto wangu firstborn hakuwa hiyo najua. Nilikuwa naishi kumficha kwa nyumba. Tukitoka nje inabidi nimfunike kabisa asionekane na watu. Yani afadhali akufia huko nje na joto huko kwa mgongo. Lakini nisimtoe nje watu wamuone. Juu hata tukienda church nilikuwa namficha tu. By the way, watu wamekuja kuona mtoto wangu akishakuwa mkubwa like 3 years. Ndio amekuja kuonekana. So my second born akakuja akiwa black. My third born nikapata tena ako na albinism. But sasa nilikuwa at least nimepata ile awareness kuhusu mambo na albinism. So hiyo haikuwa issue kubwa. So huyo nimemlea vizuri. Nimemlea nikijua what is albinism na nini nafaa kumfanyia. So I know how to apply sunscreen, kuvaa nguo protective clothing. So as in sahi najua. Ndio maana for a mother I try very much. Nikikutana na mtu ama mama mwenye ako na mtoto mwenye ako na albinism, kitu ya kwanza mimi hukukaa naye chini kwanza nimfundishe. Nimwambie kwanza huu ni mtoto kama ule mwingine, mpende, mkubali, kwa sababu wewe usipompenda mama yake ule mtoto pia atajikataa. So ukisha mkubali inakuwa very easy kwa yeye.
All right, thank you so much. Please give Mama Sharon a hand clap. Yeah, and that was an experience from a parent of a child with albinism and climate change. She's spoken about applying sunscreen because children are a bit unaware, as Brenda said earlier. Akiwa mdogo hakuwa anajua what she was supposed to do, yeah. But we have heard of the emphasis of protective clothing and sunscreen. And as parent, not hiding your children, because charity begins at home. It is the parent who give them the courage even to face the world. Amen? Disability is not inability. You got it? So we're going to stop from there. I'm going to invite Charlene to proceed. I don't know if there is any question, but if there is, we will answer as we continue. Okay? All right. Can you give our panelists a hand clap of appreciation? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for your information. We are really grateful.
All right. Thank you, Lehanda. We're going to have our very last panel discussion, and I'm going to invite our representatives from Kise, from Andy, and Ochola. Welcome to the stage. A round of applause for them as they come. All right, we had introduced ourselves at the beginning of the session, so we're going to delve into this particular panel discussion, and it's about inclusivity and advocacy in climate change action programs. I'm going to start with Sharon from Andy, and my question to you, Sharon, is how is the Action Network for Disability, Andy, including persons with disabilities in this whole conversation around climate change?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so at Andy, we've started doing programs on climate justice, and this came after like following the effect of climate change to persons with disabilities. You know, this is a conversation that is out there and of interest currently, and yeah, we just thought when people are crying, like the floodings in areas of Nyando and other parts of the country where are persons with disabilities. So this became an area of interest to us, and we are currently piloting a project on climate justice in Kisumu, Nyando. Yeah, so just to make sure that persons with disabilities are part and parcel of this conversation, and they're also involved in taking actions towards climate change. Yeah, so in that program, we are targeting persons with disabilities and communities around those areas to ensure that the voice of persons with disabilities are included in climate action programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. That's great work from Andy. I'm going to move to KISE, the Kenya Institute of Special Education. Sir, education is one of the most effective ways of ensuring that information on matters like climate change is propagated. How does KISE ensure that this type of education content is integrated into the education system?
Oh, okay, thank you. Now, I'd like to start from maybe what KISE is, and then proceed to your question, if you allow. KISE, Kenya Institute of Special Education, is a government, a semi-autonomous government agency of the Ministry of Education, and it deals with training diploma teachers in special needs education, and we also have other certificates courses like sign language, certificate in Braille proficiency, among others. Maybe you can visit our website, you can see all that. We have up to around 11 areas that we are supposed to take our function in. Now, among them is rehabilitation, and the other one is about training teachers, and there is also assessment, functional assessment. Now, from this functional assessment is where now I start, and education is where I start about issues of inclusion. We train teachers in different areas of disabilities. And if I zero in on the issue of protection and issues of bringing in a climate effect, the climate change effect on learners, we train teachers how to support both learners who are typically developing. That's what people call normal. Of course, all of us are normal. Hakuna mtu ako abnormal, ndio? They are called typically developing. Because, and then those that have disabilities or special needs are also, the teachers are given how to support them when they are taught. For example, learners with albinism are not taken to the field. You'd rather cancel that PE lesson for the whole class because of one child with albinism if the weather is harsh. So we advise them to put such outdoor activities either very early in the morning or late in the evening. I remember what my friend Jerita said her campaigns were. Na ukuja kuniambia nikuchague hata sante. And then we also, at the functional assessment, talk to parents. By the way, KISE is constructing a building that is going to be only for parents of children with special needs and disabilities, so that they can come there, get a conversation, interact, and you see, like what has been said here, ati mtu kuweka mtoto kwa jua aungue ndiye akue black. Okay? So such things happen because of lack of what? Knowledge. So sensitization, now that education moves from the teacher, goes to the community, goes to the parents of children with disabilities, and moves that way to the lawmakers and policy implementers. So basically that's what we do, so that we can make sure that issues of disability are enshrined. Before I give out the mic, in assessment, we are reaching out to the grassroots. And there, now we go and tell the people the effect of climate change, and we encourage the political wings. We also work with the provincial administration on enhancing practices that will make us move away from the harsh climate effects that bring about disability, and that if you have the disability, you protect yourself from that. And remember, some of us are persons with disability, and we don't want to increase. Ama mnataka tuongeze. We don't want to increase, isn't it? So we tell people on how to reduce that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Ochola, there's an interesting tweet I saw on UDPK's page. They said, when it comes to conversation around asking persons with disabilities what can be done for them to be included in this whole conversation, that conversation happens. But when it comes to implementing what persons with disabilities said, that conversation is not there. So I'd like to know, do you think persons with disabilities are actively involved in the whole climate change conversation?
Thank you very much. Maybe straight to your point. I think everything is being done all over the world, and especially in Kenya here. Now, persons with disability are being involved in every sector, in every whatever. But the question is, do they attend? There is always that invitation they get. There's always that all types of information on how they are able to reach. Now, me personally, maybe let me speak from my experience as a journalist who have been walking around seeing the participation of persons with disability and the attendance. I came to realize that the number of persons with disability attending the event is very low. And it doesn't mean that there is no people within the area. They are there. But the problem is that the people that we invite, the kind of people. It's like we have the disability sector nowadays level the PWDs. So sometimes someone looks who went to school. Someone looks maybe how vocal he is or she, and I think that most of the areas that we PWDs we go wrong when it comes to invitation. I think it's also good that even the active participation for persons with disability, we need to also engage the OPDs, because OPDs has a good data of the people within the society, and the OPDs can be well having the information about them. But if we keep on saying that people with disability are encouraged to attend, number one, there is no sign language interpreter. And let's not just talk about sign language interpreter only. The sign language interpreter is invited, but the deaf is not been there. Let me give an example of what happens in climate summits that happen in KICC. The good number of sign language interpreters were around 30. I personally, as one of the delegates that was invited under the yearly alumni, and there's something we wrote on the Twitter to the government of Kenya, that you guys, what is the difference, or how many people with disability do you invite here? And yet we are seeing high number of persons, high number of sign language interpreters. And then this question was now referred as, let the environment department to answer that question. And when we asked them, they said, we invited everyone, and then it's like there was someone who was in the data system who invited, and by the time you're going to pick the badge, they deny you. You see? So it's something, it's a question that still we are acting on. Like now, this upcoming Youth Connect that is coming now, my boss is working there, and I'm one of his communication officers, that is Mira Mopondo. I ask her that if you guys are going to engage this, please make sure that there is also persons with disability are also encouraged. If you